Welcome to Season 2 of the Stool podcast, a podcast for woodworkers and the maker community in general. With Joey Chalk from King Post Timberworks, Jordan Crawford from Periodic Furniture Studio, and Robin Lewis from Robin Lewis Makes. Hey, and welcome back everyone to Season 2 of the Stool podcast. Feels very good to be back. I'm joined by my two very esteemed hosts. We've got Joey all the way from New Zealand. Joey, you there?
Hey. How you going? Yeah, good.
Good. And of course, from the western side of Australia, Jordan Crawford.
Yep, that's me.
That's him. So, as you guys can obviously tell, we've decided to come back for another season. We've had a fair bit of response from a few people that have basically got in touch to ask us to come back for a season 2, which is why we're doing this. So thank you, obviously, to all of them.
Yep.
For everyone else in the show or listening to the show for the first time that isn't aware, we've been doing the show now probably for about, we did it for probably about, 6 months, I'd say?
Yeah, yep.
Yeah, it'd be about that, yeah.
Something like that.
And then we decided to take a break, and that break just got extended and extended and extended. But I think the reality is that it's actually been a good break for us because we've needed to, the three of us have sort of grown with that break, and we've been able to expand on our content. So we've got some new stuff lined up for the show, which is great. So I guess just before going any further, I just want to say a huge thank you to everyone who sent us messages over the last 10 months or so to ask where we were. I know, Joey, you probably would have got the most.
I guess, I'd get quite a few, probably once a week, I would guess, DMs on Instagram just saying, you guys going to do that thing again? Because we really enjoyed it. And, they were coming in from all over the world, which was pretty strange. So that's why we're doing it again. Yeah.
Jordan, did you get any?
Yeah, I got a surprising amount, not so much on the email or DM front because whatever reason, but I have been working on and off in Timbercon, one of the woodworking shops, and customers constantly asked me about it. And, again, probably every fortnight I'd at least have a couple of guys ask about it. Some of them said, are you all dead? And I said, no. I haven't really heard much from them, but I'm pretty sure they're still alive. But most of them were very supportive, and I'm glad to be kind of starting it up again.
Yeah. So we've just a couple that I just recorded a few to mention on the show. These are just a handful of them. So we had I had one from M&G Radiator Covers saying, looking forward to the podcast starting up again. I love listening to it in my own workshop. He's from Belfast in Ireland.
Oh, cool. What's that? Radiator Covers.
Radiator Covers, yeah.
I'm guessing not. I'm guessing it's not a car radiator. I'm guessing it's room radiator. But
I see. That makes more sense.
I actually went to car radiators first too, but you're right. It does make more sense.
I had to put it together after I realised I stopped you. Sorry, continue.
Nomad Projects. Hi, I found you through your podcast. I've started binging it from season 1. That was about 3 months ago. Norman, he said, really nice job. When you're going to start the podcast again? We had Andy saying, great to see a new video. That was on one of my videos. Hopefully more to come. Any plans on continuing the podcast? Andy, we are doing that right now, so you'll be getting a new episode soon. And then we had Basil, who said, hey, I guess the podcast isn't returning. I know it was a big time and effort commitment from the three of you. Thanks for the entertainment, education, and insight you shared. So Basil, I hate to prove you wrong, but we're coming back for season 2.
Yep. We're doing this just to spite your comments, Basil.
Everyone say thanks to Basil.
Yeah, thanks, Basil.
Thanks, Basil.
So, for those of you who don't know who the three of us are, if you're starting this for the first time, my name's Robin Lewis. I have a woodworking shop up in the north of Queensland. It's a place called Townsville, and I have come from a hobby scenario. And I've slowly been moving more and more into a commercial side of things, where I've gone from it strictly being a hobby to now becoming a part-time business. I do this on the side, and it's growing. And since the last season, it's grown quite a bit. So it's quite exciting.
Yeah.
So that's the element that I bring into it. Joey, do you want to just give us a bit of a background on who you are?
Joey Chalk. I've been woodworking, furniture making forever, since I was just a kid. I have a commercial business. I've got a 200 square meter workshop, and I have one employee, and we make anything that is mostly made out of timber, and could be literally anything. So, and that's just what I do every day, all day long, making stuff.
That's the t-shirt design. I think it's a t-shirt design that you've got, and there's a little plug for Joey. He sells t-shirts.
Ooh.
It's the one where is it we take big bits of wood and turn them into small bits of wood or something like that?
I've got to just unzip my hoodie so I can read it. What does it say? Making big wood into smaller, more complex wood for ages.
I love that. I think that's so cool.
Yeah.
So, Jordan?
I bring in the youthful and good-looking approach to the podcast.
Says himself.
Yeah, that's right. No, I'm a bit of a mutt, I guess, in all regards. I've been doing a lot of different things over the time, but my main background was in theatre, doing sets and stuff, and then I moved into furniture making and started my own business, which is no longer active because I decided after injury and having to rush to get back into, well, not copious amounts of debt, I was taking on too many little jobs that just weren't doing the bills, and I thought, stuff it, I'm going to change it up. So now I'm running a wooden surfboard business where I'm doing like supplying kits all over the world and
that's crazy.
Making cool things out of small bits of wood this time. So
I think you've probably had the biggest overall change, it seems like, in that 10-month gap.
It has been an epic amount of change.
So the last time I remember we talked about what you were up to, you had all these issues getting the laser from China, and the laser tube was broken and all sorts.
That's right.
Assumingly that all got sorted to some degree, and now you're like just somehow changed your business into surfboard kits. Like, tell us what the hell that is. How does it work?
It certainly hasn't been smooth sailing, as you said, starting with a laser and then into other things like materials and a lot of stuff. But this change has been, a lot of sleepless weeks. I'm still basically just working 14 hours a day and not stopping trying to keep up with it. But it's been, I don't know how to even explain it, because it's been just so immersive, like, of everything for me. It's been my life. But essentially, with the change, I came up with a few designs of these hollow core wooden surfboards, which aren't an original idea by any means, but the way that I implement them and the way that I've developed them is quite unique, because I've managed to remove the need for a lot of specialised machinery or expensive machinery. So you don't need a thicknesser, you don't need a bandsaw, you don't need anything to resaw anymore. And through that, I basically was able to introduce a few designs. I didn't really think it was going to take off, but it's now been this constant game of chasing my tail, trying to keep up while still developing the product, doing the manual and stuff. So the change itself was a result of a lot of stagnating time. It was basically, I had to have faith in what I was doing is going to be enough to kind of pick up the amount of, the stuff that comes with running a business. Like, rent doesn't stop coming out, power doesn't stop coming out, bills continue to come in. And when the cash flow stops,
the bills keep coming.
That's right. So it was a lot of blind faith, and it seems to be paying off, which is nice.
So presumably in that 10 months, you've gone from zero to where you are now, and you're now like exclusively just making these surfboard kits for most of your income, presumably?
Yep, that's it. So I've gone from... Exactly right. So I do still do a little bit of work at TimberCon because I'm not quite at the point where I need to be, but it's only 1 day a week that I'm there. So, it's not a lot. But yeah, I'm full time doing the surfboard kits now. So I cut them in house. I treat everything in house. Do all the packaging. Do all the plan prints. Do everything.
Assumably, it's breaking even at least at this point.
Most months.
Yeah.
Not every
wow.
month.
Yeah, cool.
But I mean, it's also the thing I have to tell myself is I have not marketed this in any way, shape, or form other than a few YouTube how-to videos.
Right.
Like I've not tried to get other YouTubers or Instagrammers to give shout-outs in that way of marketing, and I've also not paid any ads online. It's just people are finding it because they want it, and there's obviously a pretty big niche.
That's cool.
My biggest repeat customer, other than Australia, of course, is Germany and Switzerland. They're kind of equal at the moment, and Switzerland is a landlocked country. Yeah. And it's like, okay, I mean, I'll send it to you, no worries.
What's the, if you don't mind me asking, George, what's the shipping on that?
So it depends on if it's
let me rephrase the question. Is it quite heavy, the shipping, or is it not really that bad?
It's not heavy. It is very large in the cubic volume because it's if you'll say like a shortboard's a 2 meter long box. And I have somehow, I don't know how, have managed to get TNT to give me a really good deal, and I'm able to send them for about 150 to 180 bucks express. What? So like if you're in Europe, you'll have it in 3 days.
Wow.
And like I've built into the cost just a small portion, so 30. Like I cover $30 of the shipping on all orders.
Right.
But it's pretty quick, and I think it's reasonable for a 2 meter long box. So that's oversized in anyone's eyes. So
absolutely.
If it's a frame, it's a lot cheaper because it's in a smaller box, of course, like $40 to $70 depending on how remote. But yeah, it's pretty cheap, really, for what it is.
Maybe we should reiterate for some of the people who don't know that. Am I right in that you actually are laser cutting all of the components and they kind of just click together, I guess, and glue together? Is that what's happening? Essentially, yeah. I mean, if you've seen National Geographic here in Australia, I'm sure there's similar stools everywhere. You do those dinosaurs out of wood that slot together and they form this weird look. That's essentially what I am making, just a lot larger. A frame, like you do like a scaffolding. Yeah,
essentially. And then, how do I... Like, on top of the frame, I do the rails, I do nose blocks, I do the deck skins, hardware. Like, everything is included other than the fiberglassing and actual glues. But yeah, I mean, it's a pretty intense product to do with one person. But, I think very soon it will be a 2-person operation by the way it's going with any luck anyway.
Wow, that's awesome.
So overall, definitely a successful move in terms, because I remember at the end of last season it was you were really on that fence, and you've sort of alluded to it a bit earlier on, but you were really on that fence. You could go either in a good way or a bad way. Has this been the right decision?
I believe it will be. I believe it is the right decision. I will believe it is still the right decision after I actually get the time to do some marketing and see the dollars I need to come in. If it wasn't for the fact that I had this building, which is very expensive in rent, I would probably say, it's been absolutely worth it in every way. But because of the amount of downtime and the amount of bills that came in, it's elevated that dollar of negative in my name, and I kind of have to hit a much higher threshold than I probably would have had to if I didn't have this building, just to keep on top of everything, if that makes sense.
Overheads can creep up on you real quick.
So it's let's just put it this way: I've never had more debt in my life than I am in right now. But I'm still smiling,
like
so it's good. I'm still smiling, and stuff is going well.
That's crazy.
Good. So, Joe, how about you? What's happened over the last 10 months?
Well, I'm not sure. I think the last episode I recorded was just before my wife had our second child, I think.
Yep.
Now we're living with 2 little kids, and that's really changed a lot in the way that I am finding I can work. Up until that point, I was able to do some computer work at home, and generally I would kind of play with designs and things in SketchUp kind of after dinner, and I usually could find a couple of hours every night to do that. And that's just non-existent time at the moment. There's no way. In fact, I don't even have a computer at my home because there's no way I can get on it while I'm there. I can't do any work with the kids there. So
is that from the perspective of mum used to be with bub number 1 and then you could work, whereas now mum's with bub number 1 and you're with bub number 2 at all times? Pretty
much. Or one of us will have both of them, and you're just kind of like eyes in every direction trying to make sure the house doesn't burn down. And especially our 2 kids are so different personality-wise. They're into completely different things, and it's a bit tough. But, so big ups to all the mums out there, because, man, it's a hard job.
Yeah.
So that's changed my workflow in that I now have to find time to do that kind of work in the work day, and that has certainly slowed down some of my production. It's super important to get drawings down and quotes out, otherwise work's not coming in. But at the same token, work's got to go out so money can come in. So it's definitely a way up there, and I'm still just kind of fighting my way through what to do first and any given hour in the day. So that kind of compounded with, I think it was, just looking at my calendar, mid-April, where just suddenly work stopped coming in, and that went on for probably the better part of 3 weeks, and just nothing came in. And it's frightening, but we had work to carry on with, but at the end of those 3 weeks, there was almost nothing lined up, and the cash flow had stopped.
It's going to stop. Yeah.
So work
that's
eventually,
the scary time.
Yeah, work eventually came in, which it always does. But it's that downtime where the cash flow completely stops, and then that month all the bills go out, and then you're just completely emptied out, and you're like, what is happening next week? Someone's got to give me a deposit because I need a few $100, and it really gets.
And then you
down.
start thinking about selling your kidneys or something.
Yeah, you're like, oh, what's that box of stuff up there? I can put on, just sell it, whatever it is. So that kind of got pretty desperate. We're still feeling the effects now, but I've just been kind of, head down, just smashing the jobs out as fast as I can, just to kind of recoup some of that cash flow in a faster time period. And
so is it still mostly one-off custom furniture that you're working in, or is it kind of changed up to be more flat panel?
Because I've seen you doing a lot of kitchen fit outs, Joe.
Yeah, a lot of cabinetry work, and I've been taking it on really quickly because it's really easy to make a box. It's even easier if you're dealing with a pre-finished panel, as much as I don't like working with it. If you're dealing with a pre-finished panel and you make a box, you put some edging tape around it and make up some doors and throw them on it. It's really quick to do that kind of thing, and throw it in a bedroom and you've got a wardrobe.
And am I right in thinking you have the new lamello? Well, new lamello.
I have that.
It's not the biscuit. What are they called again?
It's called a Zeta. Zeta P.
Zeta, yeah.
It's essentially a biscuit joiner that wobbles. And so that has actually changed a lot of how I plan jobs. I don't necessarily use it as it's been designed to be used for like making flat pack type furniture, but I use its connections in areas that would otherwise be difficult, and it makes life very easy. Most importantly, doing miters. You can miter a box up, a veneered panel box, and the miters are just pristinely perfect, and it's nice.
Because it's kind of self-clamping in the way that you lock it in, right?
There's two main connectors on this machine. One is called a tenso, and it acts as a clamp. And as you put the two parts of the connector together, put some glue in the joint, and it's going to apply something like 15 kilos of force onto that joint. And that's good for some things. The other version is called a Clamex, and it is a cammed connector. So you have all you see is a 6mm hole which you put an Allen key into, turn it, and that applies 80 kilos of force onto that joint. And that's the one I use most of the time. And so on the inside of a cabinet, you'll end up with a couple of 6mm holes, and you can put a little screw head sticker on top of that, and it's gone. And
you had this machine in last season, didn't you? I'm sure you bought this last season.
I think I just got it, yeah.
Yeah, you did,
yeah. But that has definitely become a big part of how I plan my jobs out.
Just for the guys that aren't aware of this machine, and I'm guessing most people aren't because it's quite a niche sort of machine, you could probably describe it in a similar way as the new Stool. Is it the knockdown dominoes? Yeah. The domino has those new hidden dominoes where you have the either the screw head that comes through to expand it.
That's right.
It's essentially that, but for a biscuit joining style machine.
Right. Yep. Yeah. And it's way simpler than the domino version.
It does look like a much better system to me, but I don't think I need one for surfboards anymore.
No. So we make use of that as best we can. If anyone's been following my Instagram lately, I've just finished this birch plywood reception desk, and if I didn't have the lamello for that, I could not have done the job. So I specifically designed it with those connectors in mind, just so I could kind of make use of what it can do.
Yeah. It's funny listening to the story about the work coming in. For those of you who don't know, Joey put out what would you call it, an article or just a publication?
It's just something that was in my brain and I wrote it, and now it's a thing.
and in that, one of the first things is, if you're going to be a woodworker, you'll probably never be rich. And it's so funny listening to you talk about this, because you're a highly skilled, presumably you're well known in the area, and yet you still have these slumps, and there's nothing you can do about it. It's just the nature of the craft.
That's right.
Yeah. I think it's across the board too. I mean, the amount of guys I know or have kind of caught up with through work or other means that are struggling to find work is crazy. And these are guys that were drowning in work and had crews of 10, 15 guys on staff.
Yeah.
And now it's gone. But then in other fields, like maintenance work, it's kind of going through the roof on this side anyway.
Right.
Well, up the road from me is a woodworking studio. Probably the biggest. It's called Studio Double. It's probably the biggest woodworking studio in Townsville. And I had this conversation with the owner there, and in his mind, he believes that custom furniture is on the increase. He's seeing more demand for it all of a sudden. So I guess you know it's that ebb and flow. So as you say, some people were in the money seat, and then it just changes. There's nothing that can predict that.
Interestingly, I actually contacted during that slump. I actually contacted somebody, I won't say who, that we know in Australia, who's a prominent woodworker, and he was saying that he's also finding it difficult to find enough jobs to come in, and was supplementing his work with some of his old daytime job that he used to do. And I thought that was really interesting that at the same time there's the same kind of vibe happening with the industry. And and so in the same sentence of me saying there was not much work coming in for me, I was pricing like I've never priced jobs before in that time. Which always...
As in underpricing? Or
no, I was just... Work was coming in.
Oh, right. You're sending out quotes.
I'm sending out quotes 3 a day.
Interesting.
For that time, which I've never quoted so much ever. And I'm like, well, if we get all this job, all this work, I'm going to have to get someone else in. If all this comes through this month, we're going to be, up
so
the
the
creek.
interest is there. People want it, but maybe they just can't afford it.
What's interesting is, I don't know what went on, because now the leads, those those jobs coming in for quotes have dropped off back to a normal rate, and work's coming in at a more normal rate. So it was just like a weird blip. I don't know, I can't explain it.
Yeah, right.
So that was a big thing, a big part, anyway, of this last few months. And on the YouTube side of things, I have really not done anything because of that. I haven't had time to make videos because I've just been like, I've got to smash these jobs out and get them out the door. But interestingly, I was contacted by a company called Paperclip, and they've developed this new software which will extract my audio voice, turn it into Spanish, and plug it back into the video. So I've now launched King Post Timberworks in Spanish, in Espanol, and it's interesting. And it's going to a whole new audience.
Are they the guys that do it like $1 a word or something? Is it $1 a word? No, $1 a minute, I should say.
Yeah, I've seen that. These guys are just, what they do is start up a new channel, right, and I get a percentage of anything that channel makes. So I don't have to do anything, and at some point that channel will start earning ad revenue, and we share in the income from that channel.
That's pretty cool. Is it just subtitled idea, or is it really bad dubs? Like
it's definitely it's voiced over. There's no subtitle,
it is.
And they use they use a voice which is generated to sound something in the region of what I sound like, but in a Spanish voice, and it flows really nice. It doesn't sound like Stephen Hawking or anything.
Yeah,
and it's just another good way of getting the content I make to a whole different audience who probably will appreciate it if they're into woodwork.
Yeah. And is it? Do you know if it's generated audio? Because when I watched one of those videos, I just assumed it was voice-overed. A person had done that.
No, this is the crazy new software. It's all they just pump it in. It takes 24 hours per video, they reckon, to kind of render it and do everything. And the computer software does everything.
Oh wow, yeah, that's really good because, as I say, I didn't even know that it sounded so realistic.
Yeah, it's crazy cool. So it's an interesting little fun fact.
So to all of our Spanish listeners out there, you watch Joey in your native tongue.
Yes,
Espanol.
It's probably worth. I don't think we've really talked about the YouTube side of things. Last season, one of the main talking points of this podcast was, as well as just woodworking in general, it was the YouTube side of things. So all three of us are very involved in the YouTube scene. Last year we did a YouTube maker meetup down in Brisbane. So we're really involved in the YouTube side of things, and then obviously Instagram as well. So I think YouTube would probably be the bigger one though.
Yes.
Oh, definitely. I mean, I don't know about you guys. I mean, you've been a little bit more active from what I can tell anyway, Robin, but I'm getting withdrawals from not having regular content go out. Like, I'm getting really antsy, and I've got this list that's just growing.
Yeah.
I'm excited to actually start doing these projects again.
So, for all the people who have been asking me via Instagram, I am working on a couple of new videos as we speak. So there is something at least in the pipeline.
Talking about videos, Jordan, how do your how-to videos, because I guess you're not really using those as a way of getting, you're not expecting one of those videos to go viral because it's a companion to what you're selling. So, I mean, is there any expectation in those videos?
I have been doing a lot of, let's say, self-evaluation of past videos and whatnot. So for the expectation of the videos from me, it's not an expectation of it going viral or getting thousands of views because it's to a very small audience. But it's just to have quality that makes my brand seem like it's well thought out, makes it feel like we're passionate, which we are. Well, I am. I say we because I don't know, probably got multiple personalities. And it's just that quality front. I have been putting videos out, but I haven't advertised them to any of my social media where it has the large numbers because it's not to that audience.
Yeah.
Right.
It's on a separate channel, which is purely just, you've got one of my surfboard kits. This is how you
Right.
build it.
Oh, that's cool.
Here's a few alternatives. The
That's
list
a
of
really
projects I
smart
have.
idea, right?
That's
Such a smart idea. If you're buying a product and you have to make it yourself, having kind of essentially a step-by-step video right there is genius.
That's it. Like I'm so much better with presentation on camera than I am in writing.
Yeah.
But I've also realised that not everyone is in the same. Like I personally have to read something multiple times if I'm to understand it, whereas on a video I can watch it, I understand it right away.
Yeah. I was just about to say, yeah. I thought you were going to say you prefer reading. I was going to say I get to word number 5 and my eyes are closing and I'm falling asleep. I just cannot do the reading thing. But videos, pick it up like that.
Yeah, and so as a result of that, it's been a month of every single day working on this book for the instruction guide.
Wow.
It's not even, I mean, the written part's done, it's just the photos and stuff, which take time now.
Yeah.
Because I've had that customer feedback. But the videos, to me, are way easier, but they're not the videos that I'm wanting to kind of do, if that makes sense. I want to do more unique builds, something a bit different, quirky, where I can get creative in the editing and all sorts of stuff. So.
Be a YouTuber.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
All right, Robin, so what has been going on with you then?
So I don't think I've had I'm certainly not as big an overhaul as you, Jord, but I think it's just been 10 months of continuing along the same trajectory that I was on during last season, but my situation has improved far more than I thought it would. So at the end of last season, my goal was really to start making this hobby into more of a part-time business. So for those of you that don't know, I started on YouTube. YouTube is what introduced me into woodworking. So I was doing renovation and DIY videos. That introduced me to woodworking. I then started making woodworking videos, realized that I really enjoy this as a hobby, started doing it, and then thought, well, let me see if I can take this commercially, because in terms of YouTube, it's never been a financial success for me. So
you've had a few viral videos, haven't you? Or close to viral, that I would explain it as, like your concrete counter and that charging station. Like those got huge numbers, right?
Yeah, so those are the 2 videos that did well, and both of them have a very interesting story, which I'll summarize. The first one is the concrete countertop video, right? So I am now a woodworker. I'm a fully fledged woodworker. I do woodworking. But the one video on my channel that's doing well is my concrete countertop video. So the YouTube algorithm must be pulling its hair out, because it's just saying, why do you keep putting out woodworking videos? You're a concrete countertop guy. And I think that's why one of the reasons why my channel suffers is because the algorithm's never going to promote, and I'm saying that's one of the reasons. So obviously, the quality of my videos, we're talking outside of that, but that's one of the reasons is, it's from YouTube's perspective, I'm just all over the place. And then the other one was that wireless charging table, which did so well on Reddit. I got to the front page of Reddit, and anyone who knows Reddit's like, wow, what an honor. That video exploded for 3 days and then stopped.
Right.
And then that was it. It's disappeared into the background. So I have had success, but certainly not a consistent success. That type of success that you need to call being a YouTuber a business or financial success.
Yeah.
So with that in mind, the woodworking commercially has been the goal, and it's been picking up and it's been doing really well, to the point now where I'm working on 3 projects at the moment. One I almost said I wasn't going to do it, and then they twisted my arm, so I'm back on it now. I'd say, and I don't say this this is not in like I'm that busy, but it's got to the point where I've lost track of the number of projects I've done this year for customers. So it's
cool.
really picked up, and for those of you who don't who weren't in on season 1, last year in June I had my first child, So listening to Joey's stories about having a kid, I totally understand, because it takes a lot of time away from it. So now at the moment I'm working a full-time job, I'm doing woodworking on the side, and I've just got a kid. So it's at some point, it could even be in the season, some point something's
You'll have to get rid of the kids.
Something's going to
something's going to have to give. But it's good to be in this situation, because this is exactly where I wanted to be, where I'm now having to look at both scenarios and think, oof, I'm that busy that I'm going to have to start making decisions.
Something I just started, which maybe both of you guys would, take something away from, and I am already. So for the first time, so you know how you get a big wall planner, like a year planner that's got all the months?
Yep.
Some rep came and dropped one off, and I was like, oh yeah, fine. Put it on the wall. So what I actually started doing right from January, I write on the day that we finish any job in the workshop. And now looking at 6 months in, I can already see like a pattern of how many jobs we can get out the door a month.
Yeah.
And you can see where the slump is. I can see where it was a busy time. And I'm hoping at the end of the year to look back and see like all these kind of spots on the wall and take something away from it, even if it's just a reference point for next year, if we can beat it.
Yeah, or, visualize it in actual.
And I think that probably for Jord, it'd probably help a lot getting an idea and a visual idea of where the busy period is, so for future planning you can work out when you might need to take on staff for a Christmas rush type of thing, and then tell them to go away after that.
Well, that's the biggest thing that I have against saying, oh, come in, I need some help, no worries, is the fact that this week it's going to be flat out. But next week there might not be anything for you. And I feel like I can't really bring someone in just for that quick quick boost on the expectation that they're getting a job. It has to be.
What we do, which I felt exactly like you, is my employee is full-time, part-time. So he's guaranteed work from 8 a.m. till midday every day.
Yeah.
And that's all he's contracted for. If we're busy, he can carry on working and as long as he likes. But when the work slumps back off, it's just 4 hours in the morning. And that's a really good way of getting that extra help when you need it. And because of labor laws and stuff in both of our countries, we can't just fire people. So you have to have some kind of agreement.
Yeah. I mean, that's exactly where I think it will end up for me, is that sort of situation. But
yeah,
it's reliability. It's a big leap. Yeah.
Yep.
Isn't it funny how last season the talk was, it was always, you two guys are doing it commercially and I'm trying to get there commercially. Now you guys are talking about hiring people and I'm still just trying to get there commercially. I'll catch up.
Like it's working.
It's a game of catch up, basically.
Sounds like it's happening though, Robin.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. It is. We've decided long-term plan. So because we've just had a child, well, it's been a year, but we're trying to do, my wife stays at home and looks after the child and I am the sole income.
Yeah.
But what we'll do is once my kids grow up and go to school, my wife's going to go back to full-time work, and then I'll quit my job and do this full-time.
Right.
Obviously under the assumption that I've continued to grow my clientele, but at that point then we can rely on someone else's full-time income.
And I was just listening to what podcast is it with Guy Dunlap and.
Against the Grain? No.
Yeah, Against the Grain. It
is Against the Grain,
Yeah, their 50th episode, and they were talking almost about this exact same thing where they were saying, look, if you have a day job, just keep the bloody day job and just do it as a part-time thing. You're going to get paid way better than going to be a full-time woodworker. So I think, Robin, having that plan of a long-term strategy to get there is super, super smart.
And listening to, that's why I was so interested listening to you talk about how the money just stopped coming in and the work just stopped coming in, because it must, when you're paying for the roof of your head, and not to bang on about it, but it must be pretty terrifying to be in that situation when you're the sole breadwinner.
Yep, it can be.
Yeah. I mean, not that I am complaining about this by any means, but I had this bundle of bricks fall down on me, let's say, when work wasn't coming in, even though it should have been. And I had just finished kind of consolidating all the expenses of the last however many months, and I realised just how bad it had gotten.
Yeah.
And then my partner goes, I think I might go back to uni. Okay. And my everything just sinks inside of me. I'm like, oh no. Yeah. And I'm excited for it, but still, it was
that's crazy.
Being the only income and having this amount of stuff going on made me reevaluate a few things.
Yeah,
but it's still good. I'm loving it.
Okay, so in terms of the season 2 and what we're going to be doing with it, we've bounced around a few ideas. One of the goals is to have a number of new segments. So if you're familiar with what the show was last season, we're going to try and evolve on that and try and bring some new, what we'll call segments, just different types of points of view on certain aspects to the show. And then there'll be just sort of familiar points for everyone. And then we're also we're hoping to get some people onto the show. We're going to try and focus on interviewing people a little bit more. So people in the industry, be it, particularly woodworking or maybe the woodworking YouTube side of things, just try and get some outsiders into the show and bring a different side of things to it. So it's not just the three of us talking shop every week. And
time schedule instead of week will be fortnightly, I believe. That's the other big change.
Yeah, fortnightly. Yeah. And we're not doing the live show anymore, which is, I hope, not going to break too many hearts out there. But we want to really focus on improving the production quality this season and really focus on that. So while the live show was a lot of fun, we couldn't give it that clean value that we wanted to. So this
slightly polished.
Slightly polished. Yeah. So this season we're going to be focusing on it just audio. So it'll be up on iTunes. There'll be a YouTube video of it, so you can listen to it if you want. And then maybe during the season, once or twice, we'll do a quick feature where we do a live show as well.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think we're going to wrap it up there. That's about all. This was just a quick intro to say we're back and who we are. So anyone who's new to the show, feel free to go back to iTunes and have a listen to season 1. All the episodes are there. You can get onto it, and then be sure to look out for the next episode. The next episode of season 2. That'll be next week. All right. So is there anything from you guys that you want to end off on?
No. I'm good.
Yep.
All right, cool. All right, everyone.
Sweet.
Well, thanks for tuning back in, and we'll see you all again in episode number 2.
See ya.
Catches.
Bye.